Yep.
All right. Do you want to bring us in, or
Wait, hold on. Can someone just throw a negative guy at me really quick?
your mom?
Okay, great. I'll think of one on the fly. Um. Also, have we checked? Have anyone checked our email lately? Because I haven't.
Yes. Nothing.
Nothing. All right.
Why would we? I don't know who we would have emailed, but
No, I'm saying like, okay, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I'll bring us in. No, Doug, you bring us in. You never bring us in.
What's happening, everybody? It's the big nigga.
Okay, I'll bring us in. Never mind.
Yeah, we should.
I gave you a chance.
I was just being.
we're live on Twitter. We're live on Twitter. PewDiePie
not.
2.0.
Yo, we should do a Periscope of
Wait,
me
what
for my lineups. It would just be me doing something else, like playing basketball at the rec center.
What
During
did
lineup
PewDiePie
live.
do again? What did he do again?
He said the N-word on stream.
Oh,
Who did?
okay.
PewDiePie.
I remember that now. I remember someone telling me about that, and I was like, oh boy.
Wasn't he? He was in. Ow, motherfucker! If you put too much weight on the arms of this new chair, it like gives out. Fucking.
Okay.
Doug's just gonna take a fucking tumble mid-pod.
Whoa!
Uh,
Well, I still have there's this sliding out part under the desk where you can put a keyboard, but I don't have a keyboard, and I keep forgetting to unscrew it, and my desk chair gets caught on it when I swivel, and then I put all my weight on one arm to take the other arm out, and that's when it happens every time.
All right, I'm going to ask one more question, though, and then I'm ready to start. Also, Doug, I'm sorry about the new chair that you love. Is Brad Marchand okay? Because he did have a 17.3 shooting percentage, but his career was 15.4. So it's not like...
Down Goes Brown's hot take was Marchand finishes of under 30 goals. So
All right, I'm down. I'll just bring that up and be like, it's not just me. Like, I like Marchand, but like, I think he'll come down from 39. And like, he was in contention for like MVP for a while, and then kind of teetered off. Okay, I'm ready to go. Want me to bring us in, or Doug, did you want it?
No, you can do it. That's fine.
All right.
leave some silence.
myself.
All right. 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the Morning Skate Podcast. I'm your host DJ Mitchell here with Matt Moody and Doug Levy to discuss my favorite division, the Atlantic. So besides just Jack Eichel being the GOAT and Austin Matthews being like the second American guy to come in the league, no one really cares about. What do we think about this division? I'll kick it to you, Matt.
Well, it's pretty bad. It's probably the worst division in the league. It is unrelated to the fact that the Buffalo Sabres are in this division, but also maybe potentially related to that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, yesterday about the Metro, that division is loaded from top to bottom, including the two most recent, top picks in the 2017 draft. And, we have Detroit in this division, so it's a bit bleaker.
Doug?
Poor Detroit. I kind of agree with that. I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter if teams are going to be good or bad because they can still have potential fantasy plays on any given team on any given night. So I'm keeping a much more positive outlook on the Atlantic Division, saying that there's lots of potential for players that other people might not play. I mean, I've proven, maybe just to Matt and DJ, but that players on bad teams tend to get drafted less often, even if they're worth their price. So we're gonna do the hard work for you and talk about and wildly speculate about all of the great players that you could be playing off these horrible teams.
Yeah. We need like a wild speculation cut thing to go on. You know what I mean? Like
a wild speculation. It's like an air horn for like a nuclear explosion or whatever.
Or just
wild speculation inbound.
An expedition to the jungle.
Okay.
The lion roars. The wild speculation rears its ugly head.
The wild speculion.
Ooh,
No.
wild
Ooh.
speculion. I kind of like it.
All right, rolls
Our
are out the time.
mascot.
All right, let's wildly speculate about what we'll use for our wild speculation. All right, never mind. All right, we'll move on. So what do we want to do first, though? Do we want to do our regression candidates, or do we want to do the top 10 players?
I feel like top 10.
Top 10?
Let's do the top 10 because it rolls a bit better into the
All right.
regression side.
Matt, do you want to go first?
Let me make sure I've got him here. All right, we
You
good.
got him up?
Did you factor out
Yeah.
defensemen?
All right.
No, I did not. And I will tell you that there are 2 defensemen in the top 10. Keeping with, or no, there were none yesterday, but there were 2 in the.
Jake Gardner?
He was 11.
No, he's not. Get out
No,
of here.
he's not.
All right, I'll go with Kucherov.
He is number 2.
Ooh, really? Then I'll go Austin Matthews.
He is number 5.
Eric Carlson.
He is number 1.
Jack Eichel.
3.
Woo.
Ooh, Eichel.
Eichel,
Um,
Kucherov, and Carlson were all really close together. 4.6. Carlson was 4.7, but
Patrice Bergeron.
he is number 9.
Yeah.
Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand is number 6.
Marchand. Yeah, it's Sean. I said Shand. I'm like, that's not right. Get out of here.
If you were from Boston, that's what you would say. Brad Marchand.
Brian Marchand.
Let's see. I will go. Is Hedman on there?
Yes, he is. Number 8.
Okay. There we
He's
go.
another D-man.
That's not what it was supposed to do.
3 left. Nobody's gotten one wrong yet. Pressure's
I
on.
mean, okay. I can mess
I
this
think
up.
there's one obvious one that you guys are missing.
Oh.
Well, from a team you haven't said yet.
Pacioretty?
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about. I was probably going
He
to
was-
say that, and you just kept hinting at it. And I'm like, all right, fine. I'm sold. I'll do it.
He was 7, so you're missing 4 and 10.
Lander.
Yes, 10.
Oh wow. Shoot.
Evander Kane, number 10.
Okay, so we're missing.
All right,
one.
DJ, it's all up to you. One
All right.
player left. Matt went 5 for 5.
David Pasternak.
Oh, he nails it.
Yes! Oh my
That
god.
is- Wait, did you think I said Evander Kane?
Yeah, wait, what did you say?
Oh, I said William Nylander.
Oh, I only heard the Ander, and I thought you meant
I
Evander
totally
Kane.
heard Evander
Oh.
Kane too. I swear on my life you said Evander Kane. I don't know why you just told yourself
Oh,
that.
never mind. TJ wins. He gets the clutch pick because I gave Matt one that he didn't actually say.
Dude, I
He
swear I
wasn't
heard
even in the
Evander
top
Kane too.
20.
I heard you say Evander and Kane. Like I heard the whole word. I thought I'm like, oh, all right, Matt got it.
Let's see. Nylander was 23.
Nice,
Well, that's
Matt.
a surprise.
Nice job, Matt.
Gee, we had everything going for us, and you ruined it. Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
I was about to say that we were like gods. We just knew every single person in order that was on the top 10.
I mean, I feel like the top like 6 were kind of obvious. Like every other division, I feel like there's been guys kind of right on the edge of being in, but seem more cut and dry. Whatever though. Do we want to get into the regression candidates?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, and
Sound
in case you guys couldn't tell, I dropped the sound effect because
Yeah, I
it's
know.
way too much work
Okay,
every
good.
single time.
Not only
And
like,
it sounds
it's-
terrible.
every single time I hear it, I think I lost the podcast, and I go to get it back. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I'm like, okay, all right, it's here. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll just regression candidates. That's our new thing.
that's a good that'll be our professional lead-in.
You want to hear something interesting? Before our regression candidates, I was just looking at this.
Regression.
5 out of the top 10 total points per game players in the NHL were from the Atlantic.
Yeah,
Noise.
it's a star-studded division, I would say.
Yep.
So.
And how many of them were on the Red Wings? I didn't quite catch that.
Only 3 or
I think 4.
Athanasiu, Larkin, Zetterberg.
Yeah.
Mike
Did my
Green.
wait, was it Puck Soup where they
Rob.
did not know how to say FNCU at all, and they were like, Matt, you would know, right?
I don't remember, but it could have
Okay.
been.
Okay, they're like F and then yeah, that guy. I was like, Okay, but then again, I really gonna talk smack considering
About pronunciations, no.
the soft G German. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, after all of our, I don't know, whatever. We'll just get into our candidates now. After me announcing it 10 times. Want me to go first? Because I think mine will probably be the fastest.
Yeah, because I forgot mine.
All right, good. So I'll do positive first. Positive, Brendan Gallagher, kind of the obvious pick. I feel like it was just no one, like Matt was going to take him, and I'm like, yeah, no, I want him. Last season, he shot 5.3%, which is incredibly low. Like, that would be low for some defenseman. I mean, he had 10 goals on 187 shots. He did miss a bunch of games, only played 64. I think he's a really talented player, and I really think Montreal is going to find a way to utilize his skills better. I think there's going to be overall a really good team, and I think he'll definitely come back and be a driving force for them. There's probably a ton of metrics out there that support that, so you could probably find anyone that would say it. And then my negative regression pick, and I know I'm going to take some flack for this because I feel like sometimes I can come off as a Bruins hater, but Brad Marchand, he shot 17.3% last year on that crazy early season run where he was like MVP candidate, kind of teetered off towards the end. But I don't think he goes for 39 goals or anywhere close. I know Matt mentioned that down goes Brown, Shane McIndoe, Sean McIndoe. Sean.
Wow.
Shane.
Wait.
Well,
Sean.
it's like it's Sean
McIndoe.
I think.
McIndoe? Is it McIndoe?
McIndoe.
Really?
I think
Well,
so.
I've been saying that wrong
It's
for a long time.
juice.
Well, I know he's listening. So sorry, man. But yeah, he had 85 points last year, and I'm just gonna call him Down Goes Brown. Said that he predicted him to go under 30 goals, and I'm okay with that. I think he'll be right around the 30 goal mark. Really, just not as prolific of a player. Was he the one that went above Ovechkin in price at some point? And we were like, what?
Yeah, I mean, he
Could
definitely
happen.
got way up there in price while he was super hot. So
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. But I mean, obviously, he is still a great player, like a really solid player. But I don't think he'll be 85 points good.
It's just there's only so many shots to go around, and I have a hard time seeing Patrice Bergeron as a legit point per game player as good as he is. So, I think that's a reasonable bet to think that Marchand won't repeat what he did in 2016-17.
Fair enough. Doug, Matt?
Yeah, I guess. Doug, anything else?
No, I was just going to say, because you say that, he'll prove you wrong, and then you'll just come off looking like you hate Boston. But, I agree with it. I don't think that that's sustainable, but I don't know. That whole line makes me think about, like, players that do well only because of the people they play with, and as long as they play with the same people, maybe they'll just keep making us look stupid.
Fair enough.
That is true. All right, so I think I will start with my, I don't want to say negative regression because, I'm going to go with Andre Palat. And interestingly, Palat shot last year, it was the lowest mark of his career. And on his career, he's averaging 12.4% shooting wise. And so, you would think that last year's 50-point effort was repeatable. But with Stamkos back, it doesn't look like Palat's going to be in the top 6 in Tampa. They had a bunch of young guys come up and really, present themselves last year. They also have Stamkos coming back into the mix. And I think Palat's value came based on the fact that he was playing with the unstoppable Nikita Kucherov. So I think, as long as these lines hold, he's not going to get a ton of looks anyways because he won't have such a cushy role. But I do think he's a viable candidate to kind of be a disappointment this year. So I'll go with Palat. Why are you laughing?
I just think it's funny to say he's a viable candidate to be a disappointment. Like, would you say that to his face? Well, honestly, Andre, I feel like you're going to be a viable candidate. Yeah. Mrs. Palat is a nice lady and an avid morning skate listener. She deserves that kind of negativity.
The real goat there is Braden Point, who will be playing with Palat as per their last latest preseason games lines. So you always take the guy with the cat as his Twitter picture. That's kind of my rule. So
Yeah, that's repeatable.
But should I tell people that you couldn't remember who it was that had the cat picture in their Twitter yesterday when we talked?
Well,
So
I was just gonna give false credit to the goats and Shea Theodore, Brandon Mond, like just anyone who I like. I can automatically assume they also like cats, just because it's kind of how I roll.
And you're normally incorrect because dogs are better. But okay, moving on.
Well,
Yeah.
the morning skate wrong cast over here.
no, I vote 2-1. Dogs are better.
And bye, Matt.
Take a seat.
Enjoy the show, guys.
Anyways, did you have a a positive regression guy, or what's going on here?
What's going on here is I think that I don't really know how to pick between these two, but in Florida, their defensemen in Aaron Ekblad and Keith Yandel both had defensive years. But when you look at their underlying, their shot rates, their ice time, like none of it was really all that affected. They just simply weren't scoring and they weren't picking up assists because they were both well below league average in on-ice shooting percentage. I mean, that's pretty much a factor of the entire Florida team. Just, they basically ran through a rough patch of luck for half of the season, and some key injuries played into that. And I don't think they necessarily got better this offseason. I mean, they lost Marchessault, they lost Riley Smith, they lost Jason Demers. Didn't really replace him with much. But I think there's enough there that whoever plays on the first power play unit with Barkov and Huberdeau, last year it was Yandel. I wouldn't be surprised this year if both of them played on that first unit just because they're kind of, they're not too deep at forward anymore. But I think both of those guys are primed to have really good seasons and definitely will be overlooked to start the year.
I like that. Do you want me to talk about my guys? I did my research this time, and I feel pretty confident in my pick. So do you want me to go start with negative or positive?
I don't know. Did one of them post a picture of a dog recently?
Probably. I don't know. There's who is it? The Sabres that do the thing where they have the calendar of all the guys with the puppies, or is that one of the other NHL teams?
I know the Sabres do that around Christmas time.
Yeah. Why don't they do one with cats? Obviously, because more people like dogs.
I think it's like an animal rescue thing. They have like both, but I could be wrong.
We'll fact check and get back on it. All right.
Currently looking it up right now.
I'll start with my negative, which I think is sort of a cherry pick, but I think people might get the wrong idea. Who is Henrik Zetterberg? He's going to be 37 years old this season. But the problem is, I don't know, looking at his Hockey Reference, like year by year, his shooting percentage, he started his career shooting like almost 20%, like each season, just 16, 17, 18% every year. And then the last 4 years, he's been down at like 6, 7, 6% every year, even strength. But he shot 11% last year and had 15 even strength goals, even though in the last 2 years he had 8 and 9 respectively. So I think that people are going to think, oh, maybe there's a little bit left in the tank. And I really just don't feel like there is. I mean, he had 15 goals on 9 individual expected goals. So he's not even taking highly dangerous shots or anything like that. He's just not that good. And he's a great player, but he's not great anymore. He's old. And the fact that people still might think that he's going to be good makes me feel like I need to say that Zetterberg's going to be a negative regression candidate this year.
Yeah, that entire team is absolutely stay away. I think Dylan Larkin is going to be someone who people are like, oh, maybe this is the year he, really steps into like the superstar. But I'm not overly convinced that Larkin is good enough to kind of carry a line by himself. And at the moment, there's really not much for him to be carried by. So I'm staying away from this team entirely. DJ, any differing thoughts?
Nope.
Good.
You guys just talked so much about two players. I feel like if I had anything right now, it'd be way overkill. I'm down for everything everyone just said, and let's get to the team-by-team breakdown.
Oh, hold on. No, I didn't do my positive yet.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, no, I'm zoning out pretty hard right now. Go ahead.
All right. So my positive is Derek Brassard. He had a higher individual Corsi 4 per 60 last year than the 2 years before. But his shooting percentage more than halved last year compared to his average. So he's just getting unlucky. Although he maintained almost exactly the same individual expected goals total on the year, all of the last 3 seasons with 11. So even though he was only shooting 6%, he's still taking the good shots. So he only had 9 goals last year. And the year before he had 16. I think that he'll bounce back this year. I don't know much about his situation in terms of where he'll be in the lines, but I mean, a guy who's being that consistent will be better this year than 6% shooting and 9 goals on the season. So I'm seeing, I look at him more like a 15 goal scorer than a 9 goal scorer.
Yeah, sure. I don't have any problems with that. I think we'll talk more about the Senators when we get there, because I think they're one of the kind of the hot button topic teams in this division, just because they're so good there, or them this season. So let's just go over to Boston, where we kind of where we started the show, talking about Marchand and Pastrnak and Bergeron. A note that I'm going to point out is that as of today, the day before this regular season starts, Anders Bjork is alongside Bergeron and Marchand. He's a rookie out of Notre Dame. He's incredibly talented offensively. He has a name that's similar to Bjorkgård, so I won't be surprised if I see him, being the secondary Bjorkgård in the NHL this season.
Whoa.
But yeah, Anders Bjork playing alongside Bergeron and Marchand is going to be some hot fire early on.
Yeah, and also line 2, Jake DeBrusk with Krejci and Pastrnak. Like, those are 2 guys to keep in mind early in the year. Just they have such good line mates, and if they do get that correlation on the power play, which it doesn't look like it, I'm seeing Bjork as power play 2, but then again, it's kind of too early to tell. Another guy that came into the league, Charlie McAvoy. I think he's going to be a beast for them. I'm hoping for 20-plus minutes of ice time a night in power play 1 upside. He is a really good skater, is a pretty good shot. Just seems like an overall slam dunk prospect for them. So they definitely have some young guys coming in that could be DFS relevant, which is always exciting early in the year to take advantage of those kind of guys.
Yeah, and then we also saw in the playoffs last year, Charlie McAvoy step right into their first power play unit playing.
Did I not just say that?
I was thinking you were talking about DeBrusk still.
Oh, no. You zoned me out. See? Now you know what it feels.
He was too busy telling you not to zone out.
All right, you want to know what DJ texted me while we were texted us? While we were doing our regression, he sends a text. It's Thomas Jefferson trying to negotiate the Louisiana Purchase from the French in 1803, and it's a tweet, a picture of Patrick Starr saying, "I have $3," and that is what he's looking at while we are.
That's more important than our regression.
That's not hilarious.
but
mildly funny, maybe. In another context other than mid-podcast.
I just really thought none of you guys were going to look at it right now, but I'm really glad someone brought it up. Okay.
I was trying to tell you to pay attention, and you made me not pay attention. So well done, DJ. Well done.
You're welcome. No, I literally just said all of the words you just said, so I was like, wait, hold on. Is this deja vu?
I thought you were talking about Jake DeBrusk still. And I'm
no, I just mentioned it.
To say about Jake DeBrusk.
I was doing my Pierre Maguire. I was talking about where his girlfriend's brother used to play his high school hockey.
On the JV hockey team in 2014.
Oh, they benched him in the first 2 games of the year for being a bad teammate, and I bet they regret that now after they came in 3rd place in the state championship.
These are a lot of facts coming in. Okay, well, we should put this podcast off the rails right now. We got to bring it back. I won't send any more names unless if I have to.
So I think the more interesting stories is, let's see. Do you know when Torrey Krug is going to be back in the lineup? Because
Not offhand, but I know what you're talking about.
that's what McAvoy, I think, is contingent on. Let's see. As of 2 weeks ago, he was out for at least 3 weeks. So he'll probably be out for at least a week or so. So keep that in mind if you're looking at McAvoy. But he should be a smash play regardless. Even when Krug came back later in the Ottawa series, McAvoy was still playing that first power play, I believe. So that shouldn't be an issue. But there's the only wrench I can throw into the McAvoy hype train.
I don't. I really don't have that much to say about the Bruins. Like, I don't expect that much. I don't really know that much about their rookies though, so I guess I can't talk about that. I really don't have anything good. I think that I published something on my GitHub about terrible rookies playing with superstars and how they drag down the fantasy value of superstars. So it'll be interesting to see if Bjork really does play with Bergeron and Marchand, how that affects their fantasy value. Their price can change to account for that, but it's really good for those rookie players and stuff. But yeah, actually, I found some pretty cool stuff showing that, like most of the time when you have bad guys playing with really good guys like that, the Jay Beagle effect, they make your line terrible.
Fair enough. Yeah, but it will be interesting because these guys could end up being extremely uber talented. We don't even know. We haven't seen them play at least for Bjork, we haven't seen them play an NHL game yet.
Yeah, and before we go over to the Sabres, one note that I wanted to make is that if Frank Vatrano makes his team, he is scoring, and his shot rate is through the roof, both in the AHL and in his brief NHL career. And there's definitely some key spots up for grabs with Bjork and DeBrusk in the top 6 right now. I wouldn't be shocked to see Vatrano kind of at least get a shot at one of those cushy roles, so keep an eye on that. But I think the indications are that he's on the cutting block. I don't know if they would keep him around to play on the 4th line. That's not really what the Bruins do with Frank Vatrano, given that he's been in the AHL for the last 2 seasons, even though he's probably borderline 3rd-line talent. But yeah, so let's go to the Buffalo Sabres. You guys ever heard of them?
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the logistics to go to see them opening night, but I'm really going to try to make it happen, barring my bank account being bankrupt by the ticket price. But
you're going to buy one of those Equal jerseys?
Wait, what?
That Equal guy? I heard he's pretty good, right?
I thought he was Equal. Yeah, no, I already have one. What do you mean buy another one? You're right, I'm going to buy another one.
Equal?
Well, once they come on with their Winter Classic jerseys, something's going to have to give, and the bank account's going to be lowered. True. But who do I want to get?
Are they going to do remakes of the ones from 2008? The light blue ones? Ryan Miller wearing the beanie in the snow.
If you look up their... you can see they have 2 logos. One of them being like an old Buffalo logo with, I think, Buffalo written in it, and then one of them's their normal logo with an NY in it. So, I don't know. There's been a lot of kind of illustrations done. I know one account that I follow that does this is way off topic now, but do any of you follow that Dylan Nowak?
Yeah, you retweeted that. Did you retweet that from the Morning Skate account? I saw it.
No, I did it for my own.
Usually your tweets I ignore, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's probably right. So, yeah, but Dylan Nowak does a lot of, and he does it for all teams, jersey concepts. So if you're into that kind of stuff, yeah, you should throw him a follow. Big Sabres fan. He did a really, really cool Sabres concept. Yeah, it's like a buffalo with the Sabres in it, and then they have the Buffalo logo with the MY. But let's get back to the actual Sabres, what people care about.
Such fantasy relevant topics we've been delving into so far.
We have been doing stellar. Okay, so Buffalo Sabres, I feel like when you're a fan of a team, you're going to get overly excited about players that might not be that great. So I'm going to really try to keep a biased head with them. I do have them being much.
Wait, what?
Oh my God, unbiased.
You couldn't even be unbiased about your bias.
All right. So when Ristolainen wins the Norris, okay, I'm done. Um, no, but I really do think they'll be improved and more fun to watch, and I'm just excited for that in general. But I think there's a lot of the usual suspects: Eichel, Kane, Reinhardt to some extent, and I think we're going to see Eichel and Kane on a line together pretty much no matter what, possibly with Jason Pominville. So that's exciting to start the year. Pominville is kind of a guy that could be due for some positive regression. He is getting a little bit older, which might kind of deflate that from actually happening. And then, um, yeah, I'm just gonna kick it to one of you guys. I feel like I've already put myself too far up the river to come back.
Yeah, I mean, Eichel is like legit, probably a top 5 daily fantasy asset. Like, you know, he shoots the puck like so much, and he's not like, I love Evander Kane to death, but Evander Kane is like strictly kind of like a floor, like just based on his shot rate, he's a good DFS play. But Eichel, in addition to being like a legitimate bona fide elite NHL #1 center, like he also shoots the puck a ton, but like his playmaking is through the roof. Like, he's so good offensively that I think that, he's one of the guys that you put right up there with McDavid, with Crosby, just because on any night he can get you 2 goals on 7 shots and just completely break the slate. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. I want to say, I don't remember the exact date that I pulled it through, but like when you look at his numbers, like giving him a couple of weeks to recover from like his sprained ankle, and don't forget he had like a legit crippling high sprain in his ankle that many NHLers are saying would be like a 6 to 7 month injury that he got like on the eve of the season. And so like you could definitely tell that he was feeling it early, and towards the end of the season he started just tearing the league up. So I'm excited to see what we can do this year, and anyone who plays with him is going to be a pretty much a lock for fantasy relevance. Jason Pominville, interestingly, if he manages to hold on to the spot that he currently has on Daily Faceoff, I have some questions about their process in this. But if he manages to hold on to that spot, he was actually a legitimately great 5-on-5 producer with Minnesota. He just wasn't playing enough minutes to put up the gaudy point totals that you might expect out of him. But at 5-on-5, he was one of the league's best point producers. So those 2 guys, I'm really excited to see, if they can recreate some of the magic that Pominville left us with. Oh, excuse me.
Doug, anything on the Sabres?
I was just gonna say, I was looking at Ristolainen's stats. He shot 1% on the power play last year. So I mean that's pretty pathetic. It seemed he was from the stats that I have, he was the #1 change in negative change in shooting percentage from the last 2 years the 2 years prior to last year. He had the biggest change in power play shooting percentage. So he shot 11% over the last 2 years before last year. So,
and that's pretty amazing because the Sabres had the league's best power play last year.
Yeah, he had 1 goal and 24 assists on the power play last year.
Yeah. And we could say, like, maybe they weren't using him the same way they were using him before, but now we have a new head coach in Buffalo, so we don't exactly know how their power play will run. But, yeah, like, that's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
And, yeah, I think, it's worthwhile to note. Alex Nylander, I think he should make the team. That's kind of why I have questions with the Daily Faceoff lineups, because they don't have Nylander on the team.
He's hurt.
Okay, so that might be why.
That's probably why. Look at the bottom. Do you have any idea
if it's serious or not? Or?
It's like it happened in their prospects challenge, and it was a wrist thing, and people thought he'd be back by the start of the year, but he hasn't played a preseason game yet, so like he's not back yet. So I don't exactly know, but it sounds like
all I'm seeing on the injury list.
He's on.
All I'm seeing on the injury list is McCabe. So. Yeah, that's kind of why I was.
McKay being another one that's like not that serious, but should be back.
Right. But anyways, I mean, they picked up a few, not fantasy relevant, but like really interesting pieces. Benoit Pouliot he's probably a regression candidate just because he had such a god awful year, like shooting wise and, everything else wise also in Edmonton, but he certainly wasn't getting any help in terms of his role, in terms of his luck, his bounces. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep, a relatively strong offensive role on this team. And then on defense, they pick up Beaulieu and Tippin. They signed from the KHL. Beaulieu they got from Montreal, and then Marco Scandella they pulled from Minnesota. So I mean, they were terrible last year on defense, and hopefully this year, these moves will help them shore that up. I wouldn't really be surprised to see them kind of pull what the Leafs did last year. If they get super lucky and they don't lose any of their defensemen to injuries, they stay relatively healthy up front. Eichel has, a very an outstanding season, kind of like Matthews did. Like there's certainly the blueprint there. So any final thoughts on the Sabres before we move on?
I think I'm all set.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Okay, how many points do you think they're going to score? Quick, rapid fire. On the season.
More than the Washington Capitals.
Oh, wait, what about the Blue Jackets?
Okay.
Not as many as the Blue Jackets.
That's crazy.
You guys win this round. I'm just going to move on to the Detroit Red Wings, and you guys can just make fun of me all you want. We'll see at the end of the year. So the Detroit Red Wings.
I'll pass.
Okay, and now it's the Florida Panthers. Okay, that's good. There is one guy I really wanted to bring out, Martin Frk. Is that you say it? F-R-K? Frk?
Yeah, I think you say it.
No vowels in his name.
Yeah, it's either from he's like a Czech Republic. Anyways, though, so
That's
I
hard.
think he led the AHL in shots on goal. I'm almost positive on that. 27 goals, 23 assists. I went through the elite prospect phase just to kind of double check everything. Let me just it says, quote, not a great skater or defensive player. Bjork's game is all about scoring. He has an excellent shot and a nose for the net. So he could end up being a super DFS relative player. I don't know exactly how he'll transition to the NHL, but right now he's slotted in line 2 with Mantha and Larkin. And I don't see him on the first so he's on the second power play unit, it looks like, but they kind of, I don't know, that's up in the air.
Yeah, because Anthony Mantha at any moment could get healthy scratched. So
yeah, that too.
That team is a disaster. But yeah, no, Frk is someone. It could be. If we're saying it wrong and someone wants to call it out, feel free. But
I'll look it up right
it's
now.
Frk.
They have the pronunciation.
But yeah, he is like a legit offensive prospect. Like DJ said, his shot rate is pretty high. I don't think he even got like a game last year because I was waiting for him to get called up and he just never did. So, I think that playing with Larkin should help him, if he plays with Larkin. I'm reading an article right now where Larkin talks about playing with him and how much he likes it. So it seems like that's relatively set in stone. The best case scenario for the Red Wings, DFS-wise, is that they have some of these cheap guys who are getting big roles because you don't want to spend a ton of money on guys who play on the Detroit Red Wings. I'll promise you that right now.
Fair enough.
It's Frick.
Frk?
At least that's what it says on Elite Prospect. So blame them, not me, but they said Frick.
That's pretty funny.
Okay.
They call him Fricky.
Whenever you watch the Red Wings play, you say Frick. This is the frickin' worst team I've ever
Whoa.
I can't stop frickin' losing.
Why do they spend so much frickin' money on this defense?
Things are rough.
It's rough.
Yes. So other than that, though, the Athens CU story, that's more of something.
Maybe the best story. I'm sorry, DJ. I didn't mean to cut you off the Athens CU stuff. But the best story of last year was Riley Sheahan going the entire year without scoring, and then he scores the last 2 goals in Joe Louis Arena.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
109 shots, 2 goals.
Yeah, he had the biggest change among offense in that list I was talking about before because of that.
But yeah, that's he's totally fantasy irrelevant for my purposes. But that was just really funny to see because he was like legit on a historic pace, like the most shots without a goal, and then he scores the last goal in Joe Louis Arena history. So
much like their arena name being Little Caesars Pizza Arena or whatever,
right.
Like the worst pizza you could possibly buy. They might end up being the worst in the NHL or at least in the bottom 5. I can't see them getting out of that but I will nearly guarantee they're the worst team in this division. So now, with that being said, a team that could compete with them, the Florida Panthers. Matt, I'll throw it to you.
I mean, so like they don't have a ton of depth. They don't have a ton of
Not
depth
yet.
or depth. But I think that kind of being like a bit overplayed. Like they've made some boneheaded decisions, but like this team was one of the better teams in the league as of a couple of years ago, and these decisions really did hurt them. I mean, giving away Demers and Smith and Marchessault, like I mentioned earlier, like those all suck. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's still enough here for them to be at least a respectable team, and I expect them to be right around the playoff bubble. With guys like Barkov and Huberdeau, like it's really tough for me to expect them to be like an embarrassment essentially, because I think their defense is pretty good still. When you have Ekblad and Yandel on two of your pairs, and I'll tell you what, Matheson was really freaking good last year. I don't know if he has top 2 upside, but like he was impressive when I was watching him. So, and then they go out and they add Evgeny Dadonov, and DJ, I think you knew a bit more about Dadonov than I did. It was like you were saying he was one of the best scorers in the KHL, weren't you?
Yeah, he was.
Was that
Well, all right, so the main reason why I always remember his name is because he used to play for the Rochester Amherst, and he was an animal in the AHL, and like just could not make the jump. But yeah, no, he's just kind of like just a sniper through and through.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for a spot to make the jump, playing alongside Barkov and Huberdeau might be one of the better gigs in the league. So definitely a name to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to see what he can do. Just really good shot. I know he was picked by the Panthers back when he was drafted, and like that was when the Amherst were Sabres and Panthers, and like he was just lighting it up, and then went to the KHL and is back now. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
I think was Dadonov. Hold on, I think I have.
Was he the last overall pick at a NHL All-Star fantasy draft? Or?
No, but KHL, almost
actually. Good. He was okay.
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. It'll be worth it.
Do that.
If that was right.
I'll mention Owen Tippett, who I think he officially made the team out of camp. He was the 10th overall selection in this year's draft, if I recall correctly, but I'm going to double check. Someone to keep an eye on, another guy with a huge shot. He was like the guy that probably the best shot in the draft class. So we'll see what he can do. If he ends up getting any power play time, he'll probably be minimum salary to start the year, and they have him slotted in the 4th line on daily faceoff, but we'll see. Doug, are you ready now?
Yes. While he was in the KHL, before he came back, or in his time away, he was drafted, and then he went to the KHL, and then now he's back. He was voted he was given the KHL Gentleman Award. I saw that when I was researching him earlier. He is the gentleman of the KHL. So
I'm glad we waited for that.
DJ, do you get fantasy points for possessing strong man characteristics?
In the DJ Mitchell Daily Fantasy,
strong, gentle.
Gentle. Yes.
Okay, yes. You get all the points. But now, can we move on to a good team, the Montreal Canadiens?
Yeah, they're good.
They're good. Yeah,
I wish they had Subban, but
oh yeah, well they had Subban. Like, yeah, okay, but they are good. They have
the hardest shot in the NHL instead.
Yeah, they'd be fine. No, I really do think their defense is pretty good. Like, I get the Carl Elsner pickup. Like, yeah, they may have overpaid a bit. You kind of always do. And Carl Elsner is a fine defenseman, not really fantasy relevant too much. But you got him, Petrie, Schlemko, Shea Weber. Like, it's a pretty good point. But I really think their offense is where they're going to thrive. Jonathan Drouin's home. I think he's going to be a beast. Like, I just really like this team for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I never expected Jonathan Drouin to be a first-line center. I mean, how long ago was it now? A year and a half when he was playing in the AHL for the Tampa Bay Lightning? Like, never really expected him to. That is true. So you just never, you never really know what's going to come in the NHL. But Drouin is just gobs of talent. It's interesting how quickly they give up on Alex Galchenyuk. But I think that's a discussion for another place. So that first line right now is penciled in as Pacioretty, Drouin, Gallagher. That should be a ton of fun. Pacioretty and Gallagher are two of the better shot rate guys in the league, and Drouin is definitely a pass first type of player. And I think now that he's playing center and that he's playing with these two, he'll be even more of a, because I think he has the talent to kind of shapeshift. Like, he can kind of do what he needs to out there. And I think that with Pacioretty and Gallagher, he's going to be a prime setup man. So I don't think in terms of like cash games, Drouin's going to be a great player, but Gallagher, as we mentioned already, and then Pacioretty's like one of the guys who always leads the league in shots and just overall fantasy scoring. So I'm really excited about that. One other name I'll mention before I throw it over to you guys is Artturi Lehkonen. Last year he was I miss hockeyanalysis.com because Corsica's way too slow. But just trust me when I say Artturi Lehkonen was one of the best shot rate guys like in the entire NHL. Like, he was up at 16 or 17, where 14 to 15 is kind of considered like a good to great shot rate, and then anything above that is like generally considered outstanding. So Lehkonen is playing, a diminished role relative to, Gallagher, Pacioretty, but he's going to be much cheaper. He's going to play that second power play, and I just love his game in general.
Okay. Doug, do you have anything to say? Or
No, I have nothing. No good data analytic. No good data angles on the Canadians. I mean, I also kind of like them personally, but I don't have any good insight for you. We can go into the next one. But I like what you said. So.
Okay, then
Keep it rolling.
The Ottawa Senators, which I would say would be, the obvious biggest surprise from last year. Team made it to the Stanley Cup. No, it's the conference finals, not the Stanley Cup. They were a goal away. They made it to the conference finals, and no one expected that. They kind of slipped into the playoffs under the radar, upset some teams, and now they're back, and it feels like everyone's turned on them. But I'll send it to Doug first. Do you think there's good reason to think that they will have that regression and possibly miss the playoffs, or do you like them overall this year?
I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be as good. And how injured is Carlson? Did you say that?
He's been skating, so
that's the $1 million question.
But that, just like you were talking about with Eichel, just because you're back doesn't mean that you're back. And Carlson's a guy who can make or break that team. So, but even assuming that he comes back and does Carlson things, they've still got some decent, talented players that I see that I play sometimes. So, and they have Ryan Zingle, who played for Ohio State. So, and he's awesome. But I've been close to him. But any team that puts Peugeot on the fourth line is not going to make the playoffs. But I think that they'll make it. I think it'll be close, and they'll start the season slow, and then they'll rally, maybe make a move, and then they'll make the playoffs.
All right. Prediction. Bold takes. Moody, to you.
Yeah, so I think for me, like clearly Carlson is the difference maker on this team. But when you look at the defense around him, that's, even when he comes back, that's kind of a concern. They certainly weren't strong there last year. They had to play Carlson 30 minutes a night to even contend, which of course isn't a problem. But I think a name to keep an eye on is Thomas Chabot. He just got sent down to the AHL, which is kind of interesting because many people kind of agree that he's top 4 ready in the NHL. So maybe he's not, and that's just kind of wishful thinking on more of the analytics part. But if he manages to come up somewhat midway through the year, something like that, and becomes a difference maker, that could be what they need to get over the edge. Because when you watched them last year, they didn't do it pretty, but they were actually strong in terms of their expected goal stuff. Mike Hoffman is a monster. I loved when he was playing with Peugeot. They were playing such a strong two-way game And after the beginning of Hoffman's career, you never really would have assumed that two-way game and Mike Hoffman would ever be spoken in the same sentence. But here we are in the year 2017 where nothing makes sense. So, I was really high on this team going into the year, but then Erik Karlsson had half of his ankle bone removed, and I'm tempering my expectations based on that because that sounds incredibly painful.
Yeah, I mean, I just read he's not expected to play the opening night game, but he should be back not too long after. So I don't know. It is interesting.
Hoffman is a god, so.
Okay. I'm just going to let you have that one. I mean, they do have one kind of prospect guy to keep an eye on, Logan Brown, the first overall pick, the first round 11th overall pick for them in 2016. Looks like he made the team. He's a 6'6" center. I don't really know how his game's going to transition, but he's
not well.
I don't think he'll be a very DFS relevant player, but he could be minimum salary, and if he does end up getting that front presence on a power play or something, we'll make sure to note that.
Sure.
Tampa Bay?
Can see. Yes, let's do it. So Nikita Kucherov, I think he was the MVP last year. Just seeing the injuries around him was just, it's beyond comprehension how this team was even in contention for a playoff spot.
Contention.
And they were right there until the last day. So Kucherov was a man possessed, and now he gets Steven Stamkos back. Look out! That is legitimately terrifying. So, hopefully Stamkos can stay healthy for a full year. No, go ahead, because
I was gonna say and Dan Girardi, but okay, go on.
Yes, and all of the good that they did in basically sending out Jonathan Jewin, who was a nice piece, but not necessarily totally relevant to how they were playing. And they got Mikhail Sergachev, who's one of the better NHL-ready defensive prospects. He's making the team, playing on their top four, it looks like. So they did some good things. And then they signed Dan Girardi for 2 years for some reason. So that's pretty scary. But I'm generally willing to overlook that in favor of guys like, Kucherov and Stamkos and, Victor Hedman. I think there's room for him to play even more, like an Erik Karlsson type role. They haven't really used him like that. They've played him probably 24, 25 minutes. But I think if they're in the hunt and the team's relatively healthy and everything's going well, that he could really, I'm not going to say break out, but he could kind of become one of those horses, which really every minute when you get a stud defender like that just adds to their fantasy relevance. So that's something I'll be keeping an eye on as the season goes.
Doug, anything from you?
No, I don't have any good hot takes. How do you feel about Andrei Vasilevsky and Peter Budaj?
Me personally, I think Vasilevsky's going to start to take over as an elite goalie. I think he has the skill, the size, everything. I feel like goalie is kind of that position that takes some time to transition into and really get down in the NHL game. I feel like it changes so much from the level he was playing at previously to the NHL. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this at all, but that's just kind of my feeling on it. So I think the defense in front of him improved overall with Sergachev, etc. And I think he's going to be good. And Peter Budaj, he's a serviceable backup. So I really like the tandem.
Yeah, no, I actually do. I was cold on Vasilevsky, but
yeah, exactly.
We don't talk about that here.
That's more to the Morning Skate podcast is we never talk about the goalies. We didn't even say Carey Price's name when we talked about the Canadians.
I know, they signed him for 8 years.
No, I think I did actually. I think I did say that. I think I did say something about him.
My legitimate philosophy with picking goalies is to look at the teams that allow low amounts of expected goals and just play whoever's in that. Goalie is so random night to night, and the difference between a 9.25 goalie and a 9.10 goalie, which, in terms of save percentage, that's the difference between an NHL starter and an AHL player. So if you're telling me on a nightly basis that, that 15 out of 1,000 shots is going to be the difference between, the best goalies and the worst goalies, I'm always going to go with the team in front of them versus just the goalie himself. So that's kind of why I'm trying to stay away from these goalie takes, because yes, goalies are extremely important, but they're just impossible to predict, especially on a night-to-night basis.
I'm fine with that.
I'm more than fine with it. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
If you only have so much time to make your lineup per day, the less time you think about goalie, the happier you'll be.
Yeah, I think on a season-long perspective, which is kind of this podcast a little bit, like their goalies are fine. On a daily fantasy podcast, night to night, you never know. So perfect.
We might as well mention them now because we'll never mention them again.
Exactly. My last note is I think this team is 4 lines deep. They can really roll out everyone. I mean, their fourth line does feature Kunitz, JT Brown, and Cedric Paquette for now, which isn't great, but it's fine. Like those guys can all play and kind of shut down other lines. Kunitz might be 38, but he can still definitely play. So I really like this team.
JT Brown is a boss at Call of Duty.
All right, I believe that too.
That's the rumor.
And if you don't pick your guys based off their Call of Duty skill, then I don't know what you're doing.
Just saying, if they ever roll out a esports NHL crossover game, like that's the guy to pick.
That's your guy.
If they're looking for something really random to decide the outcome of a game and they don't like the shootout anymore, we could just do like 1v1s in Call of Duty. 1v1 on Rust.
On Rust. Yep.
Yeah.
JT. All right. Anyways, though, back to the team that I would say is like, I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's extremely boomer bust. The Toronto Maple Leafs. It's funny to see some predictive models come out and have the Toronto Maple Leafs. There was one I saw today that had them as the second most likely to win the Stanley Cup. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I swear on my life I will find it right now and send it to you guys. And I'm like,
Money Puck one, right?
Yes, I'm like, they have the Sabres as dead last too, but I don't mean, I'm not gonna say anything about whatever. I'm sure his stats led him to that, but the expectation seems so incredibly high, and I think for decent to good reason. But I think they're one big move on the point away from actually having that, to being in contention for that kind of Stanley Cup category they're being put in. But yeah, I don't know. This team to me is really fun DFS wise, and I'm not positive if I like them for a cup run at all. Matt, I'll send it to you. Oh, Doug, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, let me say something first. I think it's interesting. I mean, I haven't looked at the model or anything like that, but speaking as someone who does that sometimes, like, I think it'd be tough to like extrapolate how these young guys are going to do when they're like literally leading the team. Like, at least the way I look at the Maple Leafs is like they're the bunch of really good rookies that get to like join in with the seasoned veterans, except there are no seasoned veterans or something like that. Like, it's just hard to predict how a team will be when you're two of your guys on your top line have played in the league for less than a year or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just, and they played really well last year. So I don't know. What do you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, first off, they're trying to kill off Joffrey Lupul, literally. Like, they're trying to get rid of him. Because you guys read that story. I'm sure some of you listening, if you haven't, look up Joffrey Lupul and, like, you'll see that they're literally trying to get rid of him. Like, just be gone. I mean, the Patrick Marleau pickup helps them this year, but in the long term, I think it's a poor deal overall. And then, I don't know. I would just temper expectations, and maybe that's just me being a Browns Sabres fan, and all my expectations get shattered, even if they're as low as win 4 games for a Browns. So I would just, I don't know.
Very true. Yeah,
Matt?
I mean, like I said last year, like, everything had to go right in terms of Matthews had to be like a bona fide superstar. Like, no one had to get hurt. Like, nobody got hurt on the Leafs. Like, if you look, like, game by game, like, they lost, I think, the second fewest man games, and most of those, like, injuries were to key players, and their defense is still questionable at best. So, I think that it's interesting to see, like you mentioned earlier, how separately, like, the Sabres and the Leafs are in terms of, like, models, because I think the Sabres had, a bottom quartile outcome last year, and the Leafs certainly, I think, had a top 10 to 15 percentile outcome. And so I would expect both of those teams to kind of end up closer to one another. Regression to the mean on a team level. And I certainly think that with the aging curves and how good all these young players are in the Leafs, that they're like a playoff contender, which, I mean, they were last year too. But yeah, I think it's certainly interesting to see like the Stanley Cup love that a team like this is getting when, I think there's a legitimate case when you look at the Sabres roster, what really separates these two teams, I don't think is as big as some people are, admitting right now.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll bring up about these predictive models is a lot of them are factoring in multiple years. They're not just factoring in, like, you can't make a predictive model without factoring in, you want more data. And the Sabres were so historically bad a few years ago that if those are still being factored in, then it's going to really hurt the Sabres. So it's really hard to decipher exactly what these predictive models are going to do. I'm not going to speak on the behalf of any model in particular. I'm just saying that does play a role. Anyways, though.
So, Doug, your task is to build a model that has the Sabres as the best team in the league.
Doug,
all right.
We'll see
I'll
you
be
soon.
here all night.
Okay.
I'll put a negative sign in front of everything.
But other than that, I will get into quickly my standings. We'll do those really fast because I feel like we've gone for about an hour at this point. But I have Tampa Bay 1, Montreal 2, Toronto 3, Boston 4, Buffalo 5, Ottawa 6, Florida 7, and Detroit 8.
So you cut out, but process of elimination, Toronto is 3.
Toronto was 3. Tampa,
Okay.
Montreal, Toronto playoffs. I have Boston slipping in the wild card spot, 4-4 from each division, which I mentioned last time. That was 4 for them. So Buffalo just missing it. And you know what the thing is I was going to put Buffalo in, but then my friend from Boston called me tonight to yell at me about saying that, like, if I put Buffalo in over Boston, that I'm an idiot. And I'm like, you know what? He might be right. I might just be being a homer there, but I think it'll be real close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not as big on. I think Boston's kind of going to go the way of the Kings. Like, they have a bit more like transcendent talent in terms of like Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand, but I just don't really see, I don't see a whole lot of reasons to love the Bruins. Like, I think that they're definitely a team that benefits from the Corsi stuff, and that's all great. But we'll see. I think that of those 4, I think Boston is the most likely to miss the playoffs out of the 4 you have in. And a team like Florida, I think, has a very strong, I think they're the best chance of the teams not in the playoffs in year to get in. But I think Tampa and Montreal are like almost locks to get in without, huge injuries, whatever. So anything else to our listeners before we sign off for the night?
Doug, you want to add anything about the standings, or are you good with them?
No, I'm good. I mean, I don't feel as strongly about Ottawa being that low, I guess, but I could just be misguided.
Yeah, I know. Oh, sorry. No, I was gonna say, like, I feel like my 4, 5, 6 are all like really close. I feel like every year there's kind of that fight for the last wild card, and I think Boston, Buffalo, Ottawa fight it out for that last wild card spot. And I just kind of gotta put them in some order. It's like no matter where I put these teams, someone might argue. But anyways, Matt, I did want to look if you wanted to make any bets about the Yankees-Twins game tomorrow night. I know we'll probably be recording and watching at the same time. Did you have anything in mind?
You're saying I was planning on watching a playoff baseball game?
Are you really not going to watch the Yankees-Twins game tomorrow?
Are they best of ones or best of threes?
Best of one.
Best of one? Ooh.
It's the wild card. Like 2 teams in the wild card play to get into the playoffs.
So much variance.
I'll probably have it on in the background as I'm doing research for the NHL. But, yeah, I mean, like, when you listen, tomorrow's the big day.
I thought we were going to have a
starts, everything will be right in the world again.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't care who wins that game, DJ. I think you remember me as a little kid with my Yankees fandom, but I don't really care about baseball in that sort of sense anymore. So I will definitely watch it, but I won't have a particular rooting interest. Actually,
All
my
right.
mom's going to listen to this, I bet. So go Yankees. And I love the Yankees. And Aaron Judge is the best player ever. So that's.
Your cat's literally named after a Yankee.
I do have a cat named Jeter because I made a mistake. He should have been named A-Rod. Or A-Rar.
You should have known Eichel was coming, Matt.
Michael the cat.
Like you did. Hey, you had a dog named Jack.
That's true. See, I knew. I was ready. Okay, so I think that pretty much does it. We'll wrap it up really quick with, follow us on Twitter. Please rate this podcast on iTunes. That'd be just lovely. I think no one's done it so far this year. I tried to look through. Maybe someone has in the meantime. Please
We
do
know who
that.
you are.
So get on and do that.
Sure to check out morningscapepod.com. The tool that Doug created for us on there, the 2016-17 player analysis, is really interesting information. Looking at last year and like how players performed versus their salary, and kind of seeing like who the best players were, because there's some names on there you just might not expect because they're not the superstars who are picking up all the points. It's more of the shots, blocked shots, like that sort of thing. So highly recommend you check that out. Again, morningscapepod.com. Let us know if you like it. The rest of the stuff on the site will be a work in progress, but we'll have a lot of cool stuff going up as the year progresses, and we can test and learn more about. What's that, Doug?
I should have predictions, fantasy projections for Wednesday up on the site if things hold. I have all my data already now, so it'll just be updating it as new information comes in and updating it on the site. But it should be up on the sim page, hopefully by then. Right now there's nothing on there, but that's what should be there. So keep an eye out.
And lastly, points per dollar, morningscapepod.com is your best source considering it's free.
Is that going to be our slogan now? Points per dollar, the best play.
I made the tweet once, it got some favorites, and that's all that really matters. We're ready.
Yeah. So one more day until we will be right back with you on Wednesday morning for the first slate preview. So let's get excited. For Doug, for DJ, and for myself, I am Matt Moody. Have a fantastic season, everyone. We will talk to you tomorrow. See ya.